Hey,
Hello.
welcome, Ed. Good to see you again, mate. Good to see you.
Thank you, John. Good to see you too, mate.
Oh,
You staying well. Yeah, I was going to say you staying warm, but you're a Scottish person, so you're like,
mate. I've got three
you're like,
layers
you're
on.
like Russian.
I'm even wearing a Kevlar hoodie, which is quite appropriate compared considering what we're talking about tonight.
Yes, indeed. It's also useful if someone decides to shut you up mid-show, which
Yeah.
is always a danger in this line of work.
I know. So it always feels much longer than a week when we talk. It's just, but there's so much crap going on in the world, isn't there? That
it's kind of like a TARDIS where time is. It's Schrodinger's time. It's like time, on the one hand, is passing really quickly, or it feels like it anyway, particularly because I'm getting older as well. But also, on the other hand, there is so much going on that just keeping track of the latest insanity in the world is almost a full-time job.
It's a reality distortion field. That's what it is.
Yeah, and I think I've seen some interesting discussions about how the whole COVID lockdown period kind of impacted people's memories and stuff like that, which I think that there's something in that as well. I think stuff like that also suits the powers that be.
Yeah. There's just too much. There's too much going on just now. You know, with the WEF and the Davos crap, and now Klaus Schwab. And then Klaus Schwab started talking about putting chips in your brain. I mean, is he in league with Muskie Boy? Is he?
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure he is. I mean,
probably.
Have you seen that conversation that he had? It wasn't at this Davos. I think it was a few years ago, where he's talking to Sergey Brin from Google, and they're talking about how at some point Klaus is describing, and there's loads of videos of him talking about this, where he's describing how at some point everybody in the room sitting there will be able to know what he's thinking and what they're thinking, and he'll know what they're and you can see him practically getting a Woody talking about it. It's just like,
well, hold on a minute. What happens if you get distracted, right, and you're sitting there, you're zoning out, thinking about what you're going to have for your tea? Does everybody start thinking, mince and tatties?
I wouldn't want that. I mean, I know the kind of garbage that goes around sometimes. I don't want it. I mean, telepathy would be a curse. There's a really good old 90s sci-fi show called Babylon 5, and that actually some of the episodes in that explore telepaths, because in the Babylon 5 timeline, an alien race essentially mucks around with human DNA and creates telepaths in order to use them as a weapon against the evil alien guys.
Can you bring your mic up towards your mouth slightly? I think. Right, how's that one? I'm giving you some level, and now, Ed.
So Babylon 5 does explore the whole concept of telepaths, not just how society would have to interact with people who suddenly could read minds, but also how those people themselves would have to deal with it as well. Because if you're walking around and you can hear everyone's thoughts, the amount of noise in your head would be overwhelming. And it would. In that timeline, they effectively create this organization called Psychor, which turns telepaths into an army, effectively. And it's great if people have liked sci-fi and you haven't seen Babylon 5. It's worth going back to watch it.
I've never watched Babylon 5.
Oh, you should. They remastered it in HD.
I was always what was out at the same time? Farscape,
Star Trek, Farscape,
Star Trek: The Next Gen, Farscape,
Deep Space Nine,
Voyager, all that. Loved all that crap, right? Especially Farscape. Farscape was, and you know they're talking about. I know you're talking about restarting Farscape. No. They're not going to reimagine it. They're going to restart it with the same cast. No, but have a look at them. They look brilliant. Look at Claudia Black. She doesn't look that much different. I mean, okay, she's older, but Ben Browder. Ben Browder's the same age as me. He looks like he's 26 still. I don't know how he does it. He must have the elixir of, he's probably signed a pact in blood.
Well, we all know how that lot deal with aging, and it's not pretty, and we can't talk about it on the show. The fear of losing your YouTube channel.
Yeah. But yeah, no, so, and what's her name? Gigi Edgley, you know, the one that played the... Well, Hamza wouldn't like her because she was awfully white. She was like, you remember? She was painted white.
Oh, dear.
Peter, we're talking shit, Shalini. Move on. We're allowed to talk shit. That's just what we're here for.
Are we getting? I'm not logged into the chat. I better go.
Shalini's cracking the whip already. You know, move on. So anyway, Babylon 5, worth a watch then, you think?
It's definitely worth a watch. If you liked all that old 90s sci-fi, then it is definitely worth a watch. It really is. It's I mean, and they've done a great job remastering it as well. And it always, I mean, the CGI is dated, but I mean, just the characters and also the poignant knowledge that so much of the cast is now passed away as well. It's just it's the whole story arc is brilliant because it was unlike a lot of sci-fi back then. It was J. Michael Straczynski actually wrote it as a 5-year story arc, and after the 4th year, the American studio, I can't remember who it was, cancelled it. And then this whole worldwide conglomeration, I mean, Channel 4 was involved, there were European channels involved, they all kind of clubbed together and financed the final season.
I think that's kind of like Farscape, isn't it? Because I think the Sci-Fi Channel stepped in to save them. So, what are you drinking tonight, Ed?
Oh, I am on... That was given to me by a friend who may well be watching. Charlie, if so, thank you very much. It's really nice.
Is that from Cahors?
It is, yes, a couple
in France.
Malbec.
I
de France.
I lived near there. In fact, we used to do our shopping in Cahors.
So it's like it's an actual Malbec rather than
in the Mid-Pyrenees.
I love an Argentinian Malbec because the Argentinians make a very nice Malbec.
Oh, right.
But the French one is good too.
Yeah.
So, right, before we get shouted at by Shalini.
Let's talk about the deadly day in Dade. Dade County. Well,
that was a good little video.
I'm taking what would you call it? Liberties with the area because it's not Dade County, is it? Or is it still Dade County?
Well, no, it's now. It was because I don't really know American geography. This is just the research, but it was an unincorporated region of Dade County when it happened.
Okay.
And it's now known as the Pinecrest area of Miami-Dade County.
Okay, so this was quite a big. It's still a very well-known case because it exposed a lot of problems with law enforcement in general and the way that they dealt with things in particular. And the FBI took a bit of a beating here because they lost 2 agents and they had 5 others seriously injured. And they didn't really do anything wrong. In fact, I think the guy Ed Morales or whatever his name is, I think he got an award for it. But obviously they get the two guys died. And yes, Shalini, I will bring that up in a minute. but yeah, it was a big thing, and the FBI disseminated the information. They made training videos about it. They disseminated the information to all the different police forces around the world, and a lot of changes were made in police forces as a result of this. So they switched from, and most forces switched from revolvers to 9mm for a couple of reasons. One, they found the plus P ammunition that they were using in the revolvers wasn't stopping people as effectively as they thought it would. And then they also found that they needed more rounds than you think you do. Because up until that point, you were taught to shot a couple of times, two we were always taught 2 in the chest. If the guy doesn't go down, 1 in the pelvis, and then when he's down, you put 1 in his head. Because if you put 2 in his chest and he doesn't go down, then he's more than likely wearing body armour. But that didn't happen in this case, because what happened in this case was these guys weren't wearing any body armour at all, and most of the FBI guys weren't wearing body armour either. And the ones that were wearing it improperly. One of them didn't even have the Velcro straps fastened. So what happened is they hit the suspects a number of times, but they kept moving and they kept being able to effectively fight back, especially with the weapons they had, because the two subjects had long-barreled weapons, i.e. one had a rifle, the Mini Ruger 223, which is fairly equivalent to a modern 5.56, which is basically an AR-15, you know, the MI-16. That's the same kind of weapon. Mm-hmm. So it caused havoc on the FBI guys. And the other one was a shotgun, which was using big shot. It wasn't using 00 buck, which I think the FBI were firing 00 buck, and the bad guys were firing something like 6 or 7 back at them, which is, you know, much bigger. So less balls, but bigger balls, so more damage when they do hit you.
And so, one of the policemen got shot with the shotgun at point blank range.
Yeah.
I think. The thing that I found, just because I watched the video and then went off and did a little bit of research on myself quickly, and one of the things that I found pretty amazing was that Platt, they'd effectively killed him very early on. Now, bearing in mind that the whole encounter lasted 4 minutes.
Yeah.
But he was basically propped up against a tree,
which
meant the tree kept him up, and he just kept shooting, and so.
Yeah, he had a non-survivable wound, because I think it penetrated, I think, under his rib cage and went up and across it.
Yeah, but it wasn't. Nobody hit his brain or his heart or anything particularly immediately life-threatening.
Yeah,
and also shot in the leg, but it didn't hit his femoral artery, so he didn't bleed out.
Yeah,
and it's just because apparently him and Matix made a pact in prison that they weren't gonna, that neither of them was ever gonna go back into prison again.
Right.
But it's, I mean, I'd say it straight up. I did look to see if there was any kind of rabbit holes involved in this, but I couldn't see anything. It was just
no, it's quite straightforward. It's basically true crime.
Straightforward in the sense that it's not every day that you have a situation. It is basically just like a Hollywood movie. I mean, as you know yourself, I'm sure most police work is not like Hollywood.
No, it's not. It's not. But it's probably there's an element when it does become like it, and certainly it depends. And one of the things I brought up in the end was that I don't think the FBI were the right guy to take the car out, because I think you really need someone that has experience of doing that. And when you're in the FBI, no disrespect to them, but you're not involved in car chases all the time. And I think someone like a state trooper or highway patrol would have been in a much better position to do a hard stop like that. Yeah,
and also, I mean, back then the U.S. police wasn't militarized in the way that it is now, and I mean, I guess one of the things that contributed to more militarization in the police was that particular incident. But I mean, we're talking about 1986. This is not. It's. I mean, to me, I lived through it, and it feels like a lifetime ago. And
I know.
For me, it kind of was a lifetime ago. But it does not just societally. You see it watching old movies and TV shows from the 80s and 90s. The world just seemed like a much more innocent, simpler sort of place.
But I suppose it depends where you were, because in the late 80s,
that's true.
In the late 80s, early 90s, I was in the firearms unit, and we were running about Glasgow in a car with guns in it. And every time we get sent to a shout, what we had to do is we had to stop and basically tool up, because we weren't allowed to run about ready to go. So if you get sent to an armed incident, what you did was you either went towards it and then stopped slightly short, tooled up, and then drove around the corner, right? Or you tooled up and then drove around the corner, but you probably drove there first, because driving with a ballistic vest on is a nightmare, right? It's really,
bet it
really
is.
difficult to drive with a ballistic vest on. It really constrains you. So what we would normally do is we'd go there with all possible haste, stop, jump out, unload, jump into our overalls, ballistic vest, holsters, caps, and all that. So we started to look the part, and then we'd go around the corner and just jump out at the last minute. So, and we get sent to quite a lot of different stuff, you know. In fact, I was at one where we shot and killed a guy. I didn't shoot the guy, but the team did. One of the members of the team did. And, you know, so these things do happen, even in Glasgow. So that just...
Yeah, but it just, I don't know. I still, because it's also pre 9/11, it's also probably me looking back nostalgically at my childhood, even though I hated the 80s. I much preferred the 90s over the 80s. And 1986, I was not a happy little chappy. So we're all influenced by our own experiences.
Well, we are. Yeah, we are. I mean,
when you think, when you think about it, even just as a former firearms officer, we're talking about 145 shots in 4 minutes.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
It's just, you can't, a person who hasn't been through that, and I've never been through anything like that. But I know what gunfire sounds like, and that, even just the noise of the whole thing, must have been just something else. And the other thing that I picked up on was that there was over 20 civilians in the area who were actually endangered by the hail of bullets, but not a single civilian was hurt.
That's right. Yeah,
hit by a bullet, which, I mean,
and we've got to remember, some of the bullets went through people's houses. You know, there were shells dug out of people's internal walls. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy, and just I mean, I think it's also the fact that I'm not sure if you mentioned it. I can't remember if you mentioned this in the video. But prior to confronting Platt and Matix, the FBI agents were tracking 2 other suspected bank robbers, and they didn't have any advance warning that they'd encounter these 2 are even more dangerous.
Yeah.
So they went into it completely unsuspecting, and then to have these 2 absolute nutters with large amounts of guns.
Well, that was the thing. Did you see the picture of all the weapons, right?
Yeah.
Right. But the suspects only had the 4 in the middle. They didn't have a lot of guns. I think they had a shotgun, a rifle, and 2 handguns, right?
Yeah.
They had enough ammo for their weapons, but they didn't have a lot of guns. The FBI had access to all the guns around them, right? But nearly all the FBI were using their handguns, because they're big, long guns, i.e. the rifle. They had a rifle, they had a self-loading rifle, they had access to a machine gun, and they had shotguns, and they were all in the boots of the FBI cars. None of them were actually used during the shootout. Just crazy.
It's absolutely crazy. It's the amount of good and bad luck involved. It's like the civilians, all of them had incredibly good luck because of, 145 bullets flying around. It's and let's be fair,
the guys that died were unlucky, because because out of 7 FBI agents that were shot, only 2 of them died, you know?
Absolutely. But then the thing that I was struggling to understand is, well, I guess, because the incident itself makes it seem like they had a lot more weapons than they did, and I just think that they took, as you said, they had a lot of ammunition.
Mhm.
I mean, I did check to see if they'd had any military training.
Well, they were both ex-military.
Were
Both the subjects were ex-military.
Oh.
One was U.S. Marine Corps, and then when he'd done 3 years in the U.S. Marine Corps, then left the Marine Corps and rejoined the army a year later.
Are you sure about that?
Yes, 100%. So both were ex-military. So that guy was 101st Airborne. They were both in the 101st Airborne, and they both met while they were serving as military police officers.
Oh, that's interesting.
None of them had been in prison or had any untoward charges, apart from the fact that their wives had been murdered or one of them committed suicide. But these guys had never been in bother. Maybe you'd looked up a different one, because there's another one in Miami in 1996, I think, which was in 1997, which was in Northcroft Mall shooting or something, which I think this was a case of that one, the 97 one, was a case of reality copying the movie. Do you remember the movie Heat?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think this one, they attacked a bank in the style of Heat, and they had a massive shootout with the cops. And in fact, it might be one that might be worth doing at a later date. But yeah, I think that was in Northcroft Mall or something, 1997.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That was, I got those two mixed up.
Yeah. So so they were both ex-military, and both had served quite a number of years in the military. They've obviously done all their training, and both honourably discharged at the end of their terms.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I don't know. I find it, why would military guys be? Because I mean, I thought they were basically violent criminals based on mistaken. I've only looked at it for like half an hour, 3/4 of an hour.
It seems to be that the thing so there's a couple of things that were weird about it. One of them, his wife was a cancer researcher, and she was tied up, bound and gagged, along with one of her colleagues in the university that she worked in Ohio, right? And her throat was slit along with her colleague. So both women were killed. And I think this was Matix's wife, and he was a suspect in this. And he was questioned but never charged. And he indicated that he thought Platt had an affair with his wife, right? But after this, he then moved to Florida and opened a tree felling business with Platt. So they had a lumberjack stroke tree felling business in Florida, landscaping business in Florida. And even though he accused Platt basically of having an affair with his wife to the police, I don't know if he did it to him.
The thing that I don't understand is how they ended up in this massive shootout with police.
Well, they kept robbing they kept robbing banks in the same district, and so they kept doing it on a Friday, and they kept using the same car. Well, when I say the same car, the same model, like they stole a 77 Monte Carlo, they stole a 1980 Monte Carlo, and they stole a 1982 Monte Carlo. They kept stealing Chevy Monte Carlos.
But that's almost like they're setting it up to have a shootout with loads of police.
Hey, you know what? I don't know. And the thing was, they were both remarried, and their wives didn't have a clue. They didn't have a clue that they were armed robbers, and they'd been quite successful because they'd scored about $90,000 worth of loot over the course of 2 or 3 bank robberies.
Yeah.
So it was like, what did they suddenly need all this money for either? I don't know, because, was it just greed? I mean, why did they decide to go down the armed robber route? It's just, I mean, it's weird.
It's very strange. I mean, there's just so many aspects to the story that are weird. It also, the fact that that one incident then has such a massive impact on the police in terms of making the police more frightened and wary and better armed and more likely to.
And that's, in fact, this has come up a number of times today, of all places, right? People keep posting pictures of people and, people trying to rob shops and things like that, and people retaliating. So they'll go in with a gun and they'll try and rob the shop, and then one of the people behind the counter will have a firearm and return fire. And some of them empty the weapon into the guy, or they shoot him a number of times. There was a
John Charles Jimenez's story that we covered.
Yeah, there was a cop. Came across shall we say, a cultural enricher, doing bad things to a woman on the ground, and he shot him multiple times. And as part of what happened in 1986, one of the FBI's lessons was, if you've got to shoot a subject to stop him, you keep shooting until he stops moving. So once you've started, you don't stop. Because what they found in this whole thing was, these guys planting Matics had been hit a number of times with handguns, and they were still very effective and still killing. In fact, they killed the two agents after both of them had been shot, both the subjects, Platt and Matics. So that's the teaching these days. You keep shooting until the guy stops moving. So if you're ever in that situation and someone's shooting at you, don't move.
Oh dear.
But yeah.
Well, guns are now illegal, so I can't imagine myself getting in that sort of situation.
But they're only illegal. They're only illegal for the people that follow the law.
Yeah, but I'm a good law-abiding citizen.
Yeah, and they're not illegal. They're not illegal for the state, are they?
Well, no, but the state is basically the biggest bunch of
bullies out there. Yeah,
thuggery. It's just like, give us your money, or we're gonna put you in prison.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, they do, because income tax is effectively stolen from you at source, right?
That's what I meant.
By coercion, because you've no option. If you don't pay it, you will pay one way or the other. And the thing is, most of us actually can't not pay it. You know what I mean? Unless you're a private contractor, you don't really have any say. If you're employed by someone, you can't say, stop paying my tax. They'll go, no, I can't do that.
I mean, I'm technically self-employed, so January is always an irritating month because I have to pay my tax bill. Mm-hmm. But
most people that actually are employed by a company don't have that. They don't have the luxury of having to pay, right? The money's already been taken from them, every month.
I was thinking of withholding it on the basis that I'm not allowed to fund a terrorist organization, and the government's basically now a terrorist organization.
Oh yeah, they are. Yeah, I mean, you're right. You're right.
They're arguably complicit in war crimes, arguably complicit in genocide, and I have to hand over a whole chunk of money to them. But to be honest, I'm going to pay it because I don't need the hassle in my life.
And that's the problem. That's the problem in Britain, isn't it? Nobody ever decides that they're going to make a stand because they don't really want the hassle in their life.
Yeah, and that's how the system survives. And I could not pay it, but unless everyone does it all at the same time, go after one of you. It's much more difficult to go after all of you. Exactly.
And I'm quite surprised because the BBC license fee seems to be working in a similar mind in that one, and that many people are not paying it. And I think they're just struggling. They're struggling now because people just aren't paying it. And they can't catch them all, and they can't take them to court because, you've got you've got so many outs these days. Because I mean, I've never watched live TV. Do you watch live TV?
No.
No,
I
exactly.
hate live TV.
So you never watch live TV, and if you don't watch BBC iPlayer, you don't need a TV license after that.
I don't pay for TV license. I
Well,
stopped
exactly.
paying for TV license ages ago because I refuse to go anywhere near the BBC.
Can I tell you a secret?
What's your secret?
I've never, ever paid a TV license. I've never had a TV license. And I've never been visited.
You're a former police officer, so you probably have a little tick box next to your name or something.
No, I don't think so. Because I used to get the letters. They used to send me a TV license. You know how every time you buy a TV or a device capable of receiving TV, you would get a letter from them saying you don't have a TV license. You owe us so much. Here's your TV license, and I would never pay it. So I've never had a TV license. They never came. They never came
probably
to
just
collect.
assumed you don't have a TV.
Well, but that's not the case because I bought a device that was capable of receiving television signals.
Yeah, duh. Right. So what are we talking about next? You mentioned toroidal Earth.
Yeah, no, Adam's being an idiot again. No, you don't need a TV license to watch this because this isn't live TV. This is not broadcast on over the air.
No, you don't need a license, but it is nice when people.
He says he's only teasing
to become.
But I think if you want to pay rather than pay the BBC, you could pay us at Ko-fi.com/chasing Dissent. That would be the ideal way of doing it. And no, we haven't put adverts on for this one either. So you shouldn't be getting adverts. If you get adverts, let me know. I'll take it out with YouTube. So before we leave,
that's also because me and my potty mouth.
Yeah, I know. I don't want. No, it's not. It's not to do with that. It's the fact that it's not worth. It's not worth putting advertising on these live shows because they always make them yellow, which means not suitable for most advertisers. Pardon me. And then you appeal, and eventually it goes green. But by the time it goes green, we've had all the views. So there's no point, There's no point.
I know there's loads of sneaky things they're doing.
So rather than give them money, we just decided until we're we've got a huge audience. If we ever get a huge audience, we'll just not put ads on in live shows because if I put when I put the video up last night of the Deadly Date, it went green straight away and it stayed green all the time. So, it's suitable for most advertising. What I have to say before we move on is need to give a thank to our esteemed cast list that participated in the as I framed it, poorly acted audio dramatization.
Yes, I meant to ask who, because I obviously recognised you and Ben, but was that wives and girlfriends participating?
No, there was a whole. Well, yeah, but there was a whole. There was a whole cast list at the very end. So I think Special Agent Grogan was played by Vaughn. Special Agent McNeil and Dove, I think, was played by. No, Special Agent Dove and Risner was played by Adam.
Well done.
Special Agent McNeil was played by Ben, I think.
Yeah.
And I did Special Agent Morels and Shalini did the Control Room. So well done.
Yay! Well done, Shalini.
So yeah, it was good. It was a bit of a laugh, but
well, that's the whole point.
Yeah, it was good.
I mean, that's ultimately, and there's so much seriousness. There's so much serious content out there.
Yeah.
That just makes you either cry or get angry or want to start throwing things out of windows or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And just a bit of light-hearted silliness and fun.
Yeah.
And that's what this show's about as well. It's just we're covering serious topics, but we can do so in a light-hearted and
I think we should probably see if we can cover a rabbit hole next time, because that's us done. We did a rabbit hole, then we did true crime, so it's time to go back to a rabbit hole. So I'm not quite sure where to. Well, we might go to the Headless Valley of Nahani, or something like that. Nahani Headless Valley.
Sure.
So,
I mean, we can discuss.
That might be quite
could be
interesting. Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah.
So right, moving on to Toroidal Earth.
Yes. So I came across a thing last night when I was browsing YouTube just before I went to sleep, and it was telling me to watch this thing about toroidal Earth, and I thought, toroidal Earth, we're really gone down the rabbit hole here. And I didn't watch it. I watched something else, and then I thought I'll watch it today, and I mentioned it to Ed, because he says, is there anything else you want to talk about? And I goes, well, there was this thing about toroidal Earth, and I thought, I'll watch it tonight. Right? You know, and for those that don't know, basically donut-shaped Earth, right? Regular donut with a hole in the middle. That would be the shape of your Earth. But I never actually got to watch it because I couldn't find the bloody thing after that. So, did you find something, Ed?
Yeah, I didn't find the video, but I did do some research on it briefly again. So this may not. I haven't had a chance to fact check all of it. So some of it may or may not be wrong. But as you said, toroidal Earth posits that the Earth is donut shaped rather than spherical. People who agree with it say that it better explains phenomena like seasons, gravity, and planetary motion. And they claim that things like the horizon always staying at eye level and inconsistencies in Antarctica maps provide evidence for a toroidal planet. But everything else that we know about the planet, this planet, about other planets in the solar system, about it's just it stretches the bounds of credibility. I'm afraid this one.
You say that, okay? You say that, but let's go back to one of the things that we may have touched on at some point when we were doing the Antarctic stuff, which is Hollow Earth, right? Now,
if I had to choose, I mean, I started to go down this because ultimately with toroidal Earth, the theories and ideas come out of the 17th century with a scientifically minded theorist, one of whom, there's a few of them, but one of them, the most prominent one, was called Athanasius Kircher. And it, from what I can gather, it was a thought experiment. And I mean, this is 17th century, so they have no satellites. They've got no, I mean, telescopes to speak of, certainly not the kind of advanced telescopes that we've got. And he was wondering, he was contemplating what kind of unusual shapes the Earth could take while still potentially permitting human life and observations broadly consistent with what we experience. And the torus was simply an interesting geometric form to hypothetically ascribe to the Earth.
Yeah.
So it's not. This is not something that comes out of ancient myth and legend.
No, it's not.
Anything like that. I mean, the Hollow Earth stories.
But think
some
about
of them actually there
isn't
are
Hollow Earth like a squashed up torus?
Well, that's what that's sort of where I landed. That if you, instead of thinking of it as a donut shape, you think of it as a
cored apple.
Yeah, kind of a cored apple or something.
Yeah.
I'm still, to be honest, it would be much easier for NASA to disguise holes at the poles rather than the whole freaking planet being a donut. I mean,
yeah. Well, yeah. Did you ever read any of the old guys like Berlitz and stuff like that? Von Daniken, Berlitz. I used to read this guy Charles Berlitz, and
Eric von Daniken. Yeah, I've read a few of his early books, but he lost me fairly early on.
Yeah, I used to read this guy called Charles Berlitz, and he did a lot on the Bimini Road and Bermuda Triangle and that kind of stuff. But he also did one on hollow Earth and the holes at the poles, as you say, and how there's nearly always cloud cover over the Arctic, and and then we get the stuff from Admiral Byrd about the strange land that he went. Well, how do you explain the flight that taking 3 hours longer than it should have when he didn't have enough fuel to do that?
Absolutely, and this is not a lot of there are plenty of ancient stories
Yeah.
about Hollow Earth. I mean, the ancient Indians, they there's loads of, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but there are stories about like caverns in the earth and people living under the earth. And I mean, there's even the whole notion of hell. I mean, you have heaven that's in the clouds and hell that's somewhere below our feet, and it's very fiery and unpleasant. But Toroidal Earth isn't in that category. This is not we don't have ancient stories about, because if you think about it, what's in the middle and how it doesn't track with what it's just, I mean, we've got more advanced ways of kind of seeing into the earth now.
Yeah.
Ground penetrating radar,
Yeah.
satellites, that kind of thing.
But having said that, the deepest borehole's only something like, what, 8 kilometres or something? That's about the deepest we've been or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we actually haven't been into the Earth that far.
That we know about.
Well, that's true.
Because there could, I mean,
That's true.
we have touched on deep underground military bases.
Yeah.
We haven't really. That would be an interesting potential future rabbit hole. Because I've seen all kinds of crazy stuff. Some of it.
There's been a rise. Do you think there's been a rise in that recently on social media? There seems to have been a rise in crazy theories and crazy people talking about all sorts of weird things. Is it something to do with the state of the moon, or the time of the year or something? Because everybody seems to be going nuts at the moment.
Well, I have a pet theory. And
Go on.
I think it's actually connected to two things. Number one is the fact that we're in the middle of a geomagnetic excursion, which means that the magnetic poles are moving.
Yep.
And are moving they're moving towards each other and are scheduled to meet, and we're going to have a geomagnetic reversal probably sometime between 2030 and 2050. And I mean, it's a plain fact that they're moving. They've actually stopped. They've been moving so much that a few years ago they stopped releasing the data about where the poles exactly were. But they're due to meet somewhere in the Java Sea.
Yeah. So the last time I saw the North Pole, it was heading for Siberia.
Yeah, and it's going to go past. It's going to go down through Russia, and yeah, I mean and it's moving faster and faster.
Putin's fault.
Yeah, but if it ever gets out into the mainstream, then yes, someone will figure out a way of blaming Vladimir Vladimirovich for it. But the thing is that so we've got that. So the Earth, I mean, and humans are electrical beings. We're not just meat sacks. We're fundamentally electric, and we are incredibly sensitive to electromagnetic fields. And so the planet's electromagnetic field is going a bit haywire.
Yeah.
Which also lets more crazy shit in from space. It's one of the reasons that we're seeing auroras down in Italy. And some of these those funny coloured clouds that they were seeing in Scotland, I saw a really interesting explanation about those as well. And that's to do with electromagnetics. And so if the planet's electromagnetic field is going a bit doolally, then
we'll need to stay in bunkers.
Makes sense that, well, yeah, but I mean, we're part of this planet. We're not a separate thing.
Do you not think that something like Göbekli Tepe and then when you go to like the catacombs under Malta and and all the caves and things under Turkey, where people were obviously living in underground for some considerable time. So it's unlikely they're hiding from other people. So what were they hiding from? Were they hiding from cosmic rays?
Well, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, and don't forget Derinkuyu. That's the city, the underground city mentioned in Turkey.
Yeah.
Is that it's not the only one. And Göbekli Tepe, the stuff that's been excavated is only about maybe 5 or 10% of what's actually in the ground that hasn't been excavated. We also, if you look in Malta, you have all of the temples that humans are obsessed with the sun, and there's all sorts of warnings and ancient texts, and I mean Egyptian Ra, the sun god, and a lot of astronomy, like the Mayan calendars and stuff like that. And I've actually got a pet theory about the Mayan calendar, because the whole 2012 thing came and went, and people are like, oh, it's the end of the Mayan calendar, and all
that
this
wasn't
kind of thing.
It wasn't 2012 on the Mayan calendar, was it?
No, but I also think I also wonder if, because things on the planet don't they very rarely change in an instant.
Yeah, hold on a minute. Shalini says Mayans were cool. If you consider sacrificing children, cutting them open and drinking their blood, cool, then by all means you can down that route. But yeah, okay, whatever you say.
Yeah, but they weren't just about that. They had questionable practices.
It's like cousin pedos, you know, we're not just about that.
No, but then when you actually look at it, there's still similar stuff like that going on to this day. So we can't claim to be any more advanced than
I'm not.
And I'm not saying
I'm not claiming
we
are. Yeah.
But I'm also not necessarily. I don't think it's a good thing to tar an entire people with the same brush when there was only a few of them that were actually doing the nasty things.
Well, yes and no, because you can apply that kind of logic to today, right? And while there was only a few of the people doing the nasty things maybe over the last 3 years, the majority of the people didn't do anything to stop them.
No, that's also true. Now we're just going down a philosophical rabbit hole.
Well, yeah, but you know what I'm like. I'm an arse. I'm guaranteed to.
Well, yeah, but that's why we're just talking shit, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So just going back to toroidal.
Yes.
I mean, this. We need like a sort of sound, because this one is just no.
Yeah.
No.
I think you're right. I'm with you on that.
Earth is not a freaking donut. As much as Homer Simpson might want it to be, it is not.
So someone tweets today, the sun and the moon being out at the same time during the day is proof of a flat Earth. Right? Okay. And I'm sitting thinking, how does he work that out? Because if anything, I would have thought it was the exact opposite. You know?
Yeah. Because if the moon was always there and it was just at different parts of the sky.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Then perhaps. But it doesn't. It just.
You know what the problem is? The problem is he's thinking flat Earth, right? And then thinking, if it's not a flat Earth, if it's a globe, everything's still in one plane when it comes to the orbit. But it's not. Because if you look at how the sun and the planets travel through space, it's this big freaking corkscrew thing all over the place. So you can. That's how you can see planets that are effectively behind you, because of the way that you're traveling through space. Because Venus is closer to the sun than us. So technically, if it was a flat plane and the orbits were all exactly flat, we wouldn't be able to see Venus because the sun would always be in the way. But that's not what happened.
No.
Yeah.
And again, it's another thing. I mean, if we were looking up into the sky through telescopes, which anybody can do with a sufficient amount of cash thrown at the problem.
Yeah.
And some of them, I mean, so there are some photographers out there who post online who are doing pictures of the sun, for example.
Yeah.
And they're all spherical objects. There's not a single donut or a flat plane. I mean, comets are not round.
No.
But if you actually look at them, they're usually oval, or you don't get flat comets or flat meteors, or they're all like lumps of rock.
Yeah.
Which to some extent is what a lot of the planet, certainly the outer shell of it, is a lot of rock.
Yeah.
And I struggle with it. Like I said, there are certain I'm prepared to entertain the possibility that there's more going on under our feet than we might think.
Yeah.
But I'm not prepared to entertain the possibility that the Earth is donut shaped. And I'm sorry, I'm not a flat earther either. I can't get behind that one. I really can't. And I also think to some extent stuff like that detracts from the really interesting and more significant rabbit holes.
Yeah, it does. And there's been a lot of distractive stuff from what you would term the kind of conspiracy side of things these days, and some of it seems to be they go down routes that they can't prove. That's the problem, you know.
I think it's deliberate. I think not all not everybody is interested in actual truth, or I don't like the word truth because truth is subjective in a lot of cases. But
I tell you what, I think what you're trying to say is people don't want to face up to reality, and therefore they like their little fantasies.
Yes, and I also think that there are malicious actors, particularly on Twitter. I think it's one of the reasons we've seen such a massive uptick in all of the porn bots, because they're essentially trying to make the platform look bad.
Well, why don't I get porn bots?
I don't get porn bots either. It's mostly women that seem to get the porn bots.
It's weird.
And then Sophie Tinker, I can't say the word, so I can't actually say her handle, but it's that naughty word referring to a woman's private parts. It's a very funny Irish.
Who's that? Who, Bex?
Twitter.
No. Oh, right. Sorry.
I don't know if I can put it in chat.
Bex says in the chat, the earth isn't flat around, it's fucked. I think she's right.
Hey, Bex. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bex has these things. Trust me.
That's spot on. Yeah.
Yeah, I've just put that's an account that people should follow on Twitter if they don't, because she's hilarious. But oh God, whoops, I'd completely lost.
Do I follow her on Twitter? What is she? She Bex on Twitter?
No, she's Silver91 something or other.
What? Send me a link afterwards. Silver.
Because people that have numbers in their profiles.
Yeah.
And then she's also called Far Right Refusing Bex in this.
Oh, right. I might have seen that
as well.
I might have seen that. I might follow her actually.
There we go. I've stuck her profile in chat so people can follow her if they want to.
Right. Okay. That's cool. Oh, right.
So,
yeah.
Where are we going next?
What do you want to go?
Yeah. Well, 20 minutes. That one's done and dusted. And I won't. I'm not doing another rabbit hole about that one because
No.
even in 45 minutes research, I realised that was a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Oh, pardon me. Excuse me. I'm quite tired.
Yeah. But we're pretty much at the end of the show. I don't know if we've got any questions or anyone's got anything to say or anything funny
questions?
to say. Shalini got something to bitch about, or
refuse next.
Get myself into loads of trouble with everybody.
Oh, Shalini's retracting her own messages now.
Oh dear. But yeah, it's just a little bit of chatting around. There's nothing.
Yeah.
I thought that the so what are we going to talk about next week?
I don't know. Well, if I do the Nahanni Valley, the Headless Valley, that might be quite interesting. There's quite a bit in that, and it also leads on to things like the disappearances in national parks.
That's interesting. We could also do a little bit on Bigfoot.
Yeah,
maybe as well. That's
Dogman. Seems to be a lot of Dogman stuff out just now. You ever heard of Dogman?
I don't think I have.
So have a look at Dogman because he appears to be not quite a Bigfoot and obviously not a dog.
And there's also the chupacabras in
Mexico. Yeah.
That could be an interesting. Yeah, so should we do a bit of an unusual creatures one?
Yeah, cryptids.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it does. Excellent. Oh, right. That was good. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, we weren't picking on you, Shalene. It's just you talk all the time. That's why. So you're the only one that we can really refer things to because everybody else is fairly quiet. Missing 411. Yeah.
That's why I linked it in. I know. I'm sorry.
The missing 411 stuff is you always feel that you ever listen to Paulides, yeah?
No.
David Paulides is an ex-police detective, and he does this research into people that have gone missing in national parks, and usually you never find the body. Right, and I always get to the points where I'm thinking to myself, just say it. Just say it's Bigfoot. But he won't say what it is.
I've never had this impression that Bigfoot was.
I tell you, here's another one to think about.
Violent.
Have you ever seen the stairs in the forest?
Stairs in the forest, no.
Yeah. Have a look at that. That'll give you something to do next week. Yeah, over the weekend. Have a look at stairs in the forest. Yeah.
Notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, just stick it in chat on Twitter.
Yeah.
No. Direct messages.
Will do.
Otherwise, I'm just going to end up forgetting.
Right. So, I think that was good.
Yeah, no, it's good fun.
I've had a good time again. Thank you very much, Ed. I do enjoy it.
It's been good. Yeah, and thanks everyone who tuned in.
I do enjoy our little chats. It'd be nice if we had a fire. We could call them a fireside chats, but
I'll see if I can get a little fire. I'll fire background from a TV. That might work.
Oh yeah, that's what you could do. Right,
Ed and John's fireside chat.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Right, so thank you very much, Ed, and thank you for coming along and listening to us just talking shite, But as always, it's been great for you.
Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yo, I got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave. 6 feet deep under, but my body won't decay. Cause my messages are timeless, so they'll put them on display. Oh yeah, I rap with a certainty, I have a sense of urgency. A message for eternity, for everyone internally. I had some people burning me, but now they fucking me. You'll be looking small when you're standing right next to me. I'm 5'10", bitch, but I'm 10 feet. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yeah, I'ma do it my way. I can't contain it, I'm coming out with a statement. You really changed, man, all your music and arrangement. You don't know shit, shut your mouth, you can save it. I'm the same dude that got his come up from the basement. 100 songs, 100 weeks, didn't change it. Experiments, development, intelligence, and patience. I'll do it all again, cause I never feel complacent. Let's keep the good vibes, positivity's contagious. I'm never looking back, cause I made a life that's passionate. A college graduate suppressing all his talents, yeah. He found a way to go and change, become an advocate. For taking control of your life, go out and battle. And you think you have a dream, then act on it. Get after it, get out your head and fucking capture it. You got one life to master it. Don't give up on your future, we all start losers. We're all late bloomers, gotta struggle through the sewer. What you say? Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make.